Welcome
to another amazingly
written
Reddit
story of SupernovaRevenge. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Ruin Marvin's business? Well, here comes the killdozer. As a preface to this, I am not part of this story. I do not know anyone from this story, but it is a piece of documented history that I thought would fit this subreddit, and when I searched for it, to check to make sure I am not just reposting, I did not find it. While I believe that it does fit the title of nuclear revenge, it is a sort of bittersweet revenge because of the ending. Marvin He, mayor of Granby, Colorado, was said to be a reasonable man. He was also known for his muffler shop, his welding skills, and for being a nice person. In 1992 he had bought the ground to build his muffler shop on for $42,000 from Resolution Trust Corporation, the federal agency organized to handle the assets of failed savings and loan institutions. Later, he sold some of the land near his shop for the construction of a concrete batch plant, Mountain Park Concrete. The agreed price was $250,000. In 2001, the city zoning commission zoned an area for the concrete batch plant to be built on. The problem was that this plant would block the only road leading to Marvin's shop. So, like any good citizen, Marvin petitioned for the zone to be slightly moved so the road isn't blocked. He was denied. Instead, the town fined him $2,500 for not being connected to the sewage network, but get this, it was the construction company that broke his sewage line, disconnecting him. He tried to convey this to the city, but they wouldn't listen. So he endured. He then tried to petition to build a new road, even volunteering to build it all by himself, and, thinking the city had no reason to say no as it would solve the problem, he went out and bought the necessary equipment to do so, including a bulldozer. This is very important. The town denied his request to build a new road, and instead fined him for going 8 feet within the concrete property line to fix the sewage pipe. He was forced to sell more of his land and close down the shop, as people couldn't get to it. Marvin had had enough. He started recording some tapes about his thoughts and began building the machine that would get him his revenge over the course of a year in his barn. Several friends and family were in the barn over this year, and none of them noticed the steadily more and more armored bulldozer sitting in the corner. To quote some of his tapes before he set forth, "Because of your anger, because of your malice, because of your hate, you would not work with me," he stated in his tape recordings. "I am going to sacrifice my life, my miserable future that you gave me, to show you that what you did is wrong." He received several visitors at his shop while working on his armored vehicle of vengeance, and none of them seemed alarmed at the weaponized armor shell atop his earth mover. In his notes he may have credited a higher power with clouding their vision. On one occasion he wrote, "I was always willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things." In 2004 his father died, then he caught his wife with another man. On the morning of Friday, June 4, 2004, the day of his revenge had come. He mailed his tapes to his brother, then climbed aboard his killdozer. He then used the winch controls from within to lower the armor onto the bulldozer. The armor was made of almost a foot of steel plates and concrete, and weighed over 30 tons. To see, he had put several cameras on the outside, wired up to 2 monitors inside, each surrounded in almost 3 inches of bulletproof glass, and they even had compressed air to blow away dust. On the sides of his vehicle, he had also implemented 2 rifles which could be fired from within. The armor covered the cab, the engine, and some of the track as well. With all this protection, he was determined to be unstoppable. At 3 p.m. that day, he drove the killdozer through the wall of the barn and made his way to the cement factory, which was fully built. He smashed the entire factory to pieces. At this point people were calling 911. One man tried to get in the way of the killdozer with a front loader, but ran away after some shots were fired. In just a few minutes 2 buildings and several cars were crushed. Then he made his way the rest of the way into town, with police on all sides trying to stop him. One officer jumped on board and shot 37 times, and not a single bullet got in. When he reached the town, police had realized that bullets were useless, and started trying to use explosives. These had no effect at all. By now people were being evacuated and news helicopters were flying overhead. But He mayor was still able to seek out and hit his specific targets. The bulldozer effortlessly demolished cars and buildings, including the home of a former mayor, the office of a newspaper that had sided against him in an editorial, the businesses of a former city councilman, and the city hall. When the state governor was alerted, he almost ordered an Apache attack helicopter to come and fire Hellfire missiles at the killdozer, but decided that would cause more damage than the killdozer. Despite the destruction of property, no people had been injured or killed. One man brought an industrial scraper to block the killdozer's path, but it was effortlessly pushed out of the way and almost flipped. An hour into the chaos, the radiator had sprung a leak and the killdozer was losing power. After destroying 13 buildings, Marvin made his way to his next target, Gamble's Hardware. Unfortunately for Marvin, as he destroyed the building, the floor collapsed and the front of the killdozer became wedged in between the wall and the ceiling of the basement, and it wasn't strong enough to pull itself out. After all the rampaging, Marvin had caused more than $7.5 million in damage, but rather than serve a prison sentence, he shot himself within the killdozer as SWAT teams tried to gain entry. They tried to use explosives, but in the end, it took 12 hours with an oxyacetylene torch and a crane to crack the armored top. According to Deadline, a documentary about the 2004 incident is in the works, with plans to be completed in 2019. The movie will be called Tread and will be produced by Doug Lehman and directed by Paul Solet.